Hey guys, Chris here, and today I want to show you how to move around the Linux terminal using a few very basic commands. And once you master these commands, you'll actually find it's pretty quick and easy to get to where you need to go inside of Linux. Now, you'll see here, of course, right on the screen, I have the file manager that most distributions of Linux have at least some version of this. And you might recognize these directories as being very similar to the Windows folders. It's kind of the same idea here, but we're not going to be relying on this where you just click around, point and click with the mouse, because that's not what we're trying to get you used to here. You know how to use the damn mouse. Instead, we're going to be working through the terminal. So right now, I'm actually in the root directory, and you can tell that because over here, the directory we're in always starts with root, and there's nothing off after that. So this slash here, that just means we're in the root. And if there's something after the slash, then it's root, and then whatever directories go past that. So for instance, I hit ls on the screen, which is the first command. This lists all of the files and directories in the current directory. So we're in the root directory, so this is kind of like showing all the folders that are in your C drive if you use Windows. And from here, you can see most of these are blue. A few of these are kind of a teal, light turquoise color. And then the rest are just white. So we'll quickly go over what each of these different colors mean. Firstly, the ones that are bluish, almost kind of a violet, these are directories. Now, when you change directory into one of these, you're just basically, you're changing into a different directory. You're going up a different folder, which is the improper name for a directory. But these are ways of organizing different files into different folders. If you had every single file on a computer in one directory, it would be a huge mess. So if you don't already get the concept of a directory, it's basically, it's a way of organizing all of your files, just like a filing cabinet. Each of those little separators that you have is basically the real-world equivalent of having directories. So it lets you navigate, it lets you find things a lot easier, and it's a really good idea to take advantage of that. Now over here, which I briefly forgot to mention, this green text which says TMP is actually the main temporary directory. And the reason it's green is because it actually has full read-write permissions, otherwise known as 777. You can see here when I type ls-l, it outputs all of the same stuff up here, but it gives us a lot more information. And this is another command you really need to know. You can see over here on the left, these are what tells, basically, it tells you whether it's a file, a link to a temporary file, which is what these light blue ones are, or just a normal file. And then it'll also tell you if it's read, write, and executable by the user in question. If it's a reader executable by a group, or wait, read, write, or executable by the owning user. So root here is a user, but it's also a group. We'll get into that more another time. And then the third one over here is read, write, and executable by anybody. So you see that there's a dash instead of a W for the user and the, the all users and the group permission. And that's because there's no W because those groups and all users do not have write access to these directories. Whereas the user who actually owns the directory or owns the file has write access to it because they're the owner, of course. And you can actually change the permissions on files and directories really easily in Linux. I think it's a lot less of a pain in the ass than Windows once you get into it. But we will cover that more in another video. The point I really wanted to get at here is that you see all of the R, W, and X's read, write, and executes for the user, for the group, and for every single user that has access to this computer has all of those permissions. Any user can basically mess with whatever's in the temporary directory. And the reason that's acceptable is because obviously it's temporary files going in and out of there. This is one of the only directories you would ever really want to have 777 access to. Just whatever's in there is not going to be crucial files. It's not going to be stuff that can really mess with your computer. It's just where the system stores things temporarily as it goes along its daily processes. So back to the light blues. As I briefly mentioned, light blue means it is a link to some other file or another directory. So you can see here, bin is actually a link to the user bin directory. So it's a shortcut. Lib is a shortcut to the user/lib directory, which is short for libraries, of course. And lib64, user/library for, I guess that's, Well, yeah, I guess the idea here is they're combining 64 and 32-bit libraries into one directory. Maybe in some other systems they don't do that, but I guess Manjaro does by default. And then sbin is also a link to user/bin. Now, these last two things, these are just normal files. You can see by the extension, which I might add is not necessary in Linux as it is in Windows. You can create a text file without giving it the .text. That's actually unnecessary. So these are just basic text files. They might have important information in them, but they're just a normal file, so they're given white text. Now, that doesn't always mean that they're just pure text files. It just means that they are a file, not a shortcut, and not a directory. And that's basically what you need to know about the colors. Of course, these files, if they did have read, write, execute for all users, all groups, and the administrator or the owner of the file, then they would also be colored green, just like this directory is. So now that you have an idea of that, let me show you how to change directories really quickly. It's pretty self-explanatory almost. CD, change directory. You want to change to a directory, you can type CD into anything you see on the screen there that you found with the ls command, like cd boot. Okay, now we hit ls again. What's in this directory? Okay, you want to go up a directory? Let's see what's in grub, which is probably the most commonly used bootloader and for Linux, which lets Linux boot, is the really simple way of explaining that. Or you want to change directory into syslinux. And you also see I'm typing cd and then double dots. That means go up a directory. If you want to change directory into the directory you're currently in, it would be cd dot. I'm not sure why you'd ever type that because it's kind of pointless. But you want to go up a directory, it's always cd dot. You want to enter a directory, cd and then the name of the directory. Mount. Okay, there's nothing in there. Go up a directory. Okay, list all the directories. Change into opt. Okay, ls, go up. Change into root. And once you get really good at typing with the keyboard, you can really quickly see that if you know change directory and how to move up directories and how to list all the directories on screen with the ls command, it makes it really, really easy to move around Linux. Now, of course, if you're used to Windows, you might know about the user folder where all your documents, your videos, your pictures are stored. Linux also has that. Now, if you just want to go to your directory where your personal files are stored, it would be cd and then squiggly line, or the tilde. That's the proper squiggly line. Okay, yeah. Change directory, tilde, that puts you in your home directory, which is the equivalent of the user/your username folder in Windows. You can type ls, you see it looks just like it has the desktop. What's going to be stored on your desktop if your distribution even supports that? Your documents folder, your downloads folder, your Manjaro folder, which would only be there, of course, if you're using Manjaro Linux. Pictures, public files, templates, videos, all that basic stuff. So you're probably used to that. And if you want to go back to the root directory, type cd and then space /. That means root. ls, you can see what's in your root. You want to go back to the home directory, cd tilde. Really, really simple. Now, of course, getting used to the structure of Linux and where everything's at takes a lot of time. For instance, let's say you just installed Apache. You don't know Linux. Well, where do you actually find the Apache files? It's in the /etc directory. And then one of these folders would be Apache 2, where you change directory into Apache 2, and so on and so forth, then go edit your files. But you might not know that until you're used to Linux. So the more you get used to working out of these directories and kind of get a sense of where everything is, it doesn't take too long to learn, but once you do, it's really useful and really easy to navigate through the terminal. So I think that's plenty for this video. I even covered a few things that I really probably shouldn't have, like directory permissions, which is a very important part of Linux. And we'll get into that a lot more in future tutorials. So if you want to keep up on that and you want to see them as I put them out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you want me to keep making these tutorials, of course, and having the time to do it, you can help the channel out by going to our Patreon and making a pledge at patreon.com/ChrisTutorials. Aside from that, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down below. I've been Chris. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.